have been here in Leominster since 2001, when we first opened. And
You were here when it opened?
we were at the Veterans Center.
Oh, wow.
So we were at the Veterans Center in 2001, and then in 2004, we opened a small club at Fitchburg State,
Mhm.
and we were in their old Parkinson Athletic Center. They were loaned space until both organizations needed their space.
Mhm.
And then it came that they were going to build the new Science Center at Fitchburg State, so we had to find a home. And then the same with the Veterans Center. They were renovating the Veterans Center. So this Julie Country Day had closed,
Mhm.
and we were looking for a space, and this was just, my son went to school here, and I said, oh my goodness, this is ideal space
Mhm.
for our club, for what we do, because we were a STEM-focused club,
Mhm.
now a STEAM-focused club, so having the land for environmental science program, just having the space for
Mhm.
all that we do, it was perfect.
What is STEAM versus STEM?
Art,
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
never heard that before.
yeah, so it's architecture.
Mm-hmm.
We have 3D art that we've had dabbled with and would like to have a program. And that's where you use geometry to make a picture that looks like it has depth.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's all geometry, it's angles. They had to
Mhm.
use protractors and compasses. And the picture is fantastic, whatever you can make. I swear you should teach geometry this way. So at the end of each chapter, you have a project, an art project,
Right.
and
That
then
makes-
that's how you STEM and STEAM.
That reminds me of those chalk drawings on the sidewalk that look
It's-
like you could fall into them.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, those are very cool.
Aren't they?
They always
But
make
all,
picky balls.
but all geometry.
I
you
never
know?
thought about it. That makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And so you were here. Are you like technically sort of like the founding CEO of this branch then?
No, actually, we had two CEOs before me.
Okay.
But when we moved to this location, we moved here in 2008,
Mhm.
and I became the CEO in 2009.
Okay.
So, and that's when our focus became STEM.
Okay. And now is STEM focusing on STEM, is that one of your main goals as CEO?
Mm-hmm. That was my vision for the organization. The board asked me, what would your vision be? And I said STEM.
No, why is that?
For sure. As a child, I loved science,
Mhm.
and it was before the whole STEM movement.
Yeah, that was.
But as a child, I would go to the Museum of Science for Saturday programs, not
Mhm.
even during the week. And I just found science to be so fascinating. And I just know kids love science,
Mhm.
so if you can explode things, if you can make things fizz, if you can, work with robots, if you can make airplanes, if you can, there are just so many different things that you can, grow bacteria,
Yeah. Mhm.
all of these things that kids would love to do. And I just felt that, I had that excitement as a child, other children would as well. And that's
Mhm.
what we found here, that they do.
And what does that bring to children's lives, exposing them to science?
So critical thinking skills,
Mhm.
they really do need to problem solve.
Mhm.
So they learn the engineering method and the scientific method without even knowing that they're
Mhm.
learning engineering or scientific methods,
Mhm.
But we do put those up on the board so that they do know eventually that that's what it is.
Mhm.
But they work through those processes. And it's just amazing to see them grab on, and at an early age too.
Mhm.
So we not only run our programs for high school kids, it's middle school, because you really
Okay.
do need to start younger
Mhm.
with children, so that they're not, when they get to start applying for colleges, they're not trying to decide then what they want to do.
Yeah.
Or the first year, 2 years of college, when you're taking all of those classes and you still have to pay for those classes,
Yep.
and you don't know what you want to do.
Mhm.
So if we start them as young as we can,
Mhm.
they can explore through hands-on all different types of careers
Mhm.
and fields, and then have a better feel for what they might be interested in.
Now, for people who don't understand what the Boys and Girls Club does, would you say, are you more primarily of an after-school sort of facility or weekends? Like, when do you have kids here?
Mostly after school and during the summer.
Okay.
So during the summer, we have a 6-week program,
Mhm.
and that summer blast, and it's STEM and STEAM, just like the after-school program.
Mhm.
So we get to be outside a lot more.
Is the goal so that kids aren't home alone unsupervised, or is like what is what are some of the the mission, the goal here with providing a place?
Well, definitely so a safe place for them to be after school, and also a learning environment, because some of the time they spend more time here than they are in the school. So if you have like a professional day, they can start arriving here at 11 o'clock and be here until 6.
Okay.
So there are some days that they're really here, just as long as they are in school. So you should, because they're like little chalkboards, their brains write on these chalkboards, expose them to as much as you can educationally, and see where it goes. And you really do spark a lot of interest in different fields. So you may have, as we did one year, kids that were on a wrestling team when we had wrestling, who did not go out for any of our science programs at all. But we had a science of sports program and invited them to be involved and learn about what you're actually doing in wrestling. So force and impact and all of that, and they took to it like water. And then the second year they came back, and the science of baseball is what they did, a totally different sport. So took second place in a science fair.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
So
probably made them better athletes as well.
Yeah. So they really do, you spark the interest in some children who do not think that they can do, and so that's what's really rewarding, with children, and then just to open their minds to different fields of science.
Now, so you've completed just over a decade of being the CEO here, which is
Yes.
exciting. Does that feel like a big milestone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And there's so much more I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
We've come a long way. We started with gardening.
Oh, no kidding.
That was our first STEM program.
Wow.
But you wind up it's all of germination, pollination, all of that, and then they have a great time eating what they've grown, and they'll eat vegetables that their parents would ask them to eat, but they wouldn't eat them if you grow them yourself.
It's exciting.
And raw even.
No kidding.
They will go ahead and eat the vegetables. So our first program was gardening, and then we went to, I think, astronomy, and then we just kept building, on our programs. And when we moved here, we could do a lot more environmental science. We have a junior rangers program for our young, like 5 to 7 year olds.
Oh.
Our 5 to 7 year olds during the summer are also STEM and STEAM programming. So it's you just start the spark, and the mindset with them as early as you can.
Now, like you said, there's a big push for STEM programs now.
Right.
Why is it important to also add art into the mix?
Because if you think about architecture, that's art. People really don't think of that as art. So you want to include that as well, like the 3D printing.
Right.
Not 3D printing, but the 3D art.
Right.
Chalk art. Now that's all angles and compasses and doing that, and that is also a STEM and STEAM program, because you can produce a nice art project after doing the math. So that's why.
So it's art that includes STEM aspects of it? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily painting or things like that?
So it could be.
Okay.
So if you think about everything, you put everything together instead of keeping things in silos. So this is one of my projects that we have coming up, you stew vegetables or flowers and extract the dye.
Ooh.
So like beets, you can easily get out of a can, but you know how beets will stain your clothes.
Oh, yeah.
So you find all of the different fruits and vegetables, extract, and it's just a really easy thing to do,
Mhm.
the color out of them. And then the kids from there, so they learn the science and how that all works.
Mhm.
And then take those dyes and you can tie-dye t-shirts.
That's really cool.
You can thicken it and use it as paint
Mhm.
to paint pictures.
Mhm.
Ink, calligraphy, writing a journal.
Mhm.
And then you could also, with the history of and cultures, what cultures actually would extract dyes and use and who
Mhm.
still do.
Mhm.
The history, is there.
Yeah.
The art is there.
Mhm.
So yes, you can, do drawing as well with the science piece.
Okay. That's very interesting. I don't feel like I hear a lot of children's programs combining those two.
It's really interesting because you want them to see
Yeah.
how everything comes together. When kids ask in school, when am I ever going to use this?
Yeah. Mhm.
This way you can tell. And there's a whole revival on natural dyes.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people are dyeing different wools and
Mhm.
fabrics, and those are probably the most expensive ones you can
Right.
buy.
Mhm.
But if we teach them all of that now, they can even use that,
Yeah.
somewhere in the future as a hobby or, whatever, or, make it into a business
Mhm.
at some point. But
So-
yes, so you can do the art that way.
So what are some of your goals for the coming years? Maybe the next 10 years?
Ooh. I'm really interested in AI.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would like to start that with the kids.
Mm.
We've started 3D printing.
Mhm. Oh.
Of course, want to do more of that with computer-aided design with CAD
Mhm.
with the children. There's some music and drama we'd like to do more of.
Mhm.
We'd like to go back to our Science of Sports program and do a
Mhm.
lot more of that.
Mhm.
Um,
So expanding what you're already
Mhm.
doing, more or less.
Right,
Right.
right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking about that.
Mhm.
Do you mind if we switch gears?
Sure.
So actually, if you might want to beat that in recording.